A bitter winter night. An officer hears scratching at his mailbox. Just noise, he thinks. But when he steps outside, a starving German shepherd is clawing desperately at the metal. Moments later, the truth hidden inside that mailbox freezes him to the core and leaves the entire town in shock. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Snowflakes drifted lazily under the glow of the streetlights, coating the quiet neighborhood in a blanket of white. Inside his small home, Officer Daniel sat by the window with a steaming mug of coffee, grateful for a rare evening off duty. The world outside seemed calm, almost too calm. He leaned back in his chair, listening to the soft hum of the heater and the muffled silence that only winter nights could bring. For once, there were no sirens, no calls, no emergencies, just peace. Yet, something gnawed at him, a restlessness he couldn't quite name. Then it came, a faint sound, muffled at first, like claws scraping against metal. Daniel set his cup down, his brows furrowing. The noise returned, louder this time, steady and insistent. His instincts sharpened. Someone, or something, was outside his home. And whatever it was, it had chosen his mailbox. Daniel pulled on his coat and stepped into the freezing night. The air bit at his face as he scanned the snowy street, expecting perhaps a raccoon or some restless animal searching for food. But what he saw made him stop in his tracks. There, half buried in snow near his mailbox, was a German shepherd. The dog's fur was damp, patches of it clumped with ice, and one paw was raw and bleeding from scratching at the metal box. His frame was thin, his ribs faintly visible, yet there was something fierce in his eyes, focus, desperation, intent. At first, Daniel thought it was just a stray trying to survive the bitter night. But as he watched, he noticed the animal wasn't digging for shelter or food. Every claw, every scratch was directed at the mailbox itself, as if the dog was trying to tell him something urgent. Daniel's pulse quickened. This was no ordinary visitor. Daniel approached cautiously, his boots crunching in the snow. The shepherd didn't growl, didn't retreat. He simply paused his scratching and lifted his head, meeting Daniel's eyes. For a moment, Daniel froze. The dog's gaze wasn't wild or feral. It was sharp, pleading, almost human. Kneeling down, Daniel noticed blood staining the snow beneath the dog's paw. The animal winced, but returned immediately to clawing at the mailbox, desperate to get Daniel's attention. Each scrape against the metal echoed unnaturally loud in the frozen silence. Daniel's instincts as an officer sharpened. This wasn't random behavior. He reached out slowly, placing a hand on the shepherd's trembling back. The dog didn't resist. He leaned into the touch, then pressed his muzzle back toward the mailbox. Something was inside. Something the dog was determined to reveal. And suddenly, Daniel's heart began to pound. Knowing he wasn't just looking at a stray, he was standing on the edge of a mystery. With trembling fingers, Daniel reached for the mailbox handle. The shepherd whined softly, pacing in the snow, his eyes fixed on the box as if urging Daniel to hurry. Taking a steadying breath, Daniel pulled the door open and immediately felt the blood drain from his face. Inside, nestled against the cold metal, was a device. Wires twisted in every direction, a small digital screen flashing red numbers. That had already stopped at midnight. A crude homemade bomb, disabled but very real. For a moment, Daniel could only stare, the cold biting into his skin as a chilling thought sank in. If not for this dog, he might never have discovered it until it was too late. The shepherd pressed against his leg, panting heavily, his fur dusted with snow. Daniel realized the animal had likely injured himself desperately trying to warn someone, anyone, of the danger hidden inside. His heart pounded with dread, but also with awe. This stray had just saved his life. Daniel's training kicked in. His frozen shock gave way to urgent focus as he grabbed his radio. "This is Officer Daniels. Possible explosive device discovered at my residence. Immediate backup and bomb squad requested." His voice was steady, but his heart thundered. In his chest, the shepherd pressed closer, tail low but eyes locked on Daniel as though he understood the gravity of the situation. Snow swirled around them, the night eerily quiet except for the dog's ragged breathing and the faint hum of the radio. Within minutes, flashing lights appeared down the street, painting the snow in hues of red and blue. Neighbors peeked through curtains, then spilled into the street, murmuring nervously as they saw the bomb squad unload their gear. Daniel raised a hand to hold them back. "Stay clear," he warned firmly. And through it all, the German shepherd never moved from his side. No matter the fear or chaos, the dog stood guard, as if determined to see this through. The bomb squad moved with precision, their voices low and urgent as they examined the mailbox. Tools clinked against metal, every sound amplified in the still winter air. Neighbors huddled together at a safe distance, their faces pale, eyes fixed on the men risking their lives in the snow. Daniel stood just beyond the cordon, his hand resting on the shepherd's back. The dog growled softly whenever anyone came too close, his loyalty fierce and unshakable. He wasn't just watching, he was protecting. The sight stirred whispers among the crowd. This wasn't an ordinary stray. He knew. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Finally, one of the technicians raised his hand. "Device secure," he announced. A wave of relief swept through the street. Sighs, tears, even a few claps of gratitude broke the silence. But as Daniel looked down at the shepherd leaning against him, he realized the biggest question remained unanswered. Who exactly was this dog? When the chaos subsided, Daniel guided the shepherd into the warmth of a police vehicle. Animal Control scanned the dog for a microchip, and what came back made every officer pause. The shepherd wasn't a stray at all. He was a registered K9, reported missing months earlier from a neighboring county. Daniel studied the scars across the dog's body, the rough patches of fur, the haunted look in his eyes. Whoever had abandoned him had betrayed more than just a partner. They had discarded a hero. Yet, against all odds, this dog had found his way here, to the right mailbox, on the right night. The realization sent a chill down Daniel's spine. The shepherd hadn't been scratching for food or shelter. He had been warning him, saving lives even when no one expected it. This wasn't chance. It was destiny. The next morning, headlines spread across town. "Stray dog saves officer from bomb threat." But Daniel knew the truth. This wasn't a stray. This was a hero who had risked everything to protect strangers who didn't even know his name. At the precinct, officers gathered to meet the shepherd. Some knelt to pat his head, others whispered, "Good boy," with awe in their voices. For Daniel, the decision was simple. He filed the paperwork to adopt him, giving the dog a forever home, not just as a guardian, but as family. That winter night ended with more than a mystery solved. It gave birth to a bond unbreakable by time or betrayal. Daniel often found himself watching the shepherd, now resting peacefully by the fireplace, and thinking, sometimes fate chooses the most unexpected messengers. The town would never forget the night a forgotten K9 became their greatest protector.